Hello and welcome back to Recording Principles, Week 1, Thursday. So let's take a look at your FSO. Now, trust me, I'm happy to be past day one. It's going to be fun to get into more of the actual audio engineering and less of the sort of hand-holding and whatever else to walk through all this. So, you should have just turned in the loading sounds into Logic and playback. I'll be looking to grading those on Friday. Some sections may already be graded. You have quiz 1 due tonight. Do not forget quiz 1. Remember, it's open book, open internet, open whatever. And it's going to be on the vocabulary from the materials here. So you know what words are going to be used. These words are going to be used in sentences. It's a multiple choice test. And you just have to fill in the sentences correctly. And there are no retakes on the test. If you ask me for a retake, I'll know you didn't watch this video. Alright, so coming up this Sunday, you have the Introduce Yourself project. Remember, the initial post is due at noon. I know that's hard to do on a Sunday, so maybe you want to get ahead on it. Maybe you want to do it tonight. Or maybe not, you know. Everybody has their own way to schedule their time. Not for me to schedule for you. So we'll be looking at this. This will be due on Sunday. We'll take a brief look at the Mix 1 as well, just so nobody gets confused on that. That starts early on it. And then on Monday, we will come back in. We'll look at RPR Immersive Skills Development Parts 1 and 2, which are really heavy. And then next Thursday, we'll be looking at Mix 2. All right, so again, I want to remind you and warn you that please do not get behind in these first 2 weeks. If you're already behind now, please use this weekend to catch up. I don't know why I'm saying please, because it doesn't really affect me, but it affects you. To me, it's no harder to put in a low grade than a high grade. But I'd like to see you all succeed. I want you all to do well, and I want you all to sound good. So please follow along and stay on top of everything. This class is cumulative. Every assignment must be done and must be done in order to complete the class. So even if you miss the deadline, you're going to get a 0 on it. You still have to do it. There's no way around it. There's no skipping it. So do it in time and get the points. Don't wait and then have to do it and not get any points. You're just going to feel, I don't know, people don't tend to feel too good about doing work and not getting points, but you have to do the work to move forward. So do it before it's due and get the points. All right, so let's take a look here. Preview. All right, so here you are. Here's your warning here that the discussions require initial post by 12 p.m. noon Eastern Time on the due date, giving roughly 12 hours for your colleagues to give a response and for you to give a response to your colleagues. Linda training. We have 2 different Linda training videos this time now, or 2 different series we're looking into. So the Logic Pro X Essential Training, you've already started on that. You have recording audio, all segments, so about 30 minutes there. Exporting and sharing, 6.5 minutes. Not too bad. And then you have this other series, Audio Recording Techniques with Bobby Olzinski. Bobby O is probably the most known at this point audio author. It's very prolific. Books on studio recording, mastering, specific use of specific software, and different processes. All sorts of books this guy has written, and interviews he's done and everything. And so Linda made a series with him, and it's really great. So Joseph and I, we started off, we were going to make... we were going to recreate some of our campus microphone labs, you know, in videos and everything for people. And then we looked at how well they did on these videos, and it would take us quite a budget and quite a bit of time to match what they've done here. So we use theirs. They're great. They have animations of the patterns coming out from the microphone. We were just going to record some stuff, but, you know, they show you all the visible stuff with animations and everything. Makes it very easy to try to understand, right? We're trying to build coordination, hand, ear, eye, mouth, vocal, you know, It's making everything coordinated and making sure that you know, everything works together. And that's what we're working with here. So having a visual as well as the audio helps a lot of people understand the audio, because when they can visualize something, they understand what they're listening to. If you've ever been at a concert or something and you're looking at the stage, and then all of a sudden you look at the guitarist and you're watching his guitar and his fingers, and you feel like you hear it more, like all of a sudden it becomes more distinct. You looked at it, it became more distinct. Your eyes led your ears to focus on something. So that is a thing. So you're going to see that with our RPR Immersive coming up next week. It's going to be audio, visual, tactile, all at once, working together. You're going to get some of that from these videos, although you don't get the tactile because you're not doing it, but you're watching it. So you're getting the audio tied into a visual reference to help you understand what you're listening for. If all that rambling makes no sense to you, just watch the videos and you'll understand what I'm talking about. All right, so microphone basics, about 15 minutes. Microphone placement, about 15 minutes. And then this is optional, required for AP students, recording in stereo. Why is it required for AP students? Because you have the ability to stereo record right now. While you won't be doing it in this course, it'll be good for you to practice with and start understanding how your mics work in a stereo field as well as just alone. That's APBS students. Should specify. All right. And then back to microphone placement, just a quick comment on that. We've seen in the industry, and there are people like this that exist. They probably don't get paid a whole lot usually. But, you know, they're like, oh, I'm a tracking engineer. Used to, you could get away with doing something like that because at a studio, it might be technical enough that it was worth paying somebody a lower wage just to come in and deal with that, and then pay the higher wage mix engineer and everything later to do the rest. But a lot of mixing engineers got such poorly tracked stuff from the tracking engineers. A lot of mixing engineers refuse to work with anything they haven't tracked themselves these days. The whole thing, though, is mic placement. And you're going to watch this, and you're going to see some things. And some people try to like look up a book or something. But what you have to learn is how to listen to the microphone, because, you know, a drawing and all the stuff may be, you know, great and everything, good starting point. But, you know, the movement of maybe 10 degrees or 20 degrees or an inch or two here or there, left or right, can totally change the sound of your recording and the way it's going to sit in the mix. So if you're a person that doesn't know how something should sound, or you've never done any mixing and you don't understand how something should sound in the mix, then, you know, you're just a fool throwing mics in front of things and, you know, thinking, well, it recorded the sound, I did my job. You know, of course a mic's going to record. You hook up a mic, it's going to record whatever's in the room. You're going to discover that pretty soon. It will record anything around you, especially condenser mic, very sensitive. So how do you know if you had a good recording or not? You have to know how to critically listen and evaluate. And you're going to get that through a lifetime of experience, but also through the exercises in this course. All right, so that's all you're watching. Here you have an app that's going to show you your polar patterns, the most typical polar patterns. So, unfortunately, they don't really have a decent cheap mic that also has multiple polar patterns. So you all do not have multiple polar patterns to work with, but you will be in studio situations at some point, most likely in your life, where you will own a mic that does give you options, and you need to know how to choose what's best. So it's another flash app like those ones I showed you on Monday. Just give it permission to open. And microphone polar patterns demystified. You're going to get some of this from the videos too, but a lot of people like the interactiveness of this.
0 degrees.
So it's an AKG 414. You can pick your mic patterns from the left side. So let's try a hypercardioid.
0 degrees.
And then as you click on it, it just turns around.
90 degrees.
and you hear what it sounds like from every angle.
270 degrees. 350.
You can hear different frequencies roll off the more you get to the sides. You're going to lose more highs first, and then the lows will be lost last. So something to keep in mind, something to listen for and think about. You can, your first line of equalization is really your microphone selection and microphone placement. The microphone you choose and the microphone and how you place it will dramatically affect how something sits in the mix. And dramatically. You know, you may not notice it yet if you're not experienced much with mixing, but your mix engineer will notice. All right, so you're going to set up your hardware and computer to record, do some gain staging, digital recording, blah, blah. All right, so it's going to be an introduce yourself project. This helps me know more about you. You know more about each other. And also, if you have any sort of background with any of this gear, with recording, with music, with performance, anything, now's a good time to mention it. It can help me as a teacher or whoever your instructor is this month understand how to relate to you more. If you know certain things, then we'll know that we can use those things to help relate concepts to you. If you're starting with a blank slate, that's fine too. You know, this is a freshman level course. Do not be embarrassed if you're just a blank slate, but let us know that too. All these things might affect the way that we give you feedback and the way that we're able to help you understand and comprehend. So the more we know about you, the more we can help you. All right, there's a PDF on the project. You don't really have to download that because pretty much everything's written right here. I had originally done that, and then I kind of kept beefing up the inline instructions until they covered it all. So, all right, what you're going to do, you'll create 2 mono audio tracks. If you look here on Logic, these little dots, single circle mono, dual circle stereo. All you have to do is just click on them, and they change. So that part's very easy in Logic. If you're coming from another DAW, you might appreciate how easy it is to go from mono to stereo and back and forth in Logic. It also changes all plugins when you do it. So very simple. You do 2 mono audio tracks. These can be your vocals. If you find your vocal playing back out of one ear, that means you probably recorded on a stereo track and you need to make it mono. And then 1 stereo music track and name it Music Bed. All right, so just use loops from the Apple Loop library, please. Make it simple. It'll be 90 seconds long, so you can have 45 seconds of each acoustic environment. So we have 2 lines. All right, so pick 2 distinctly different acoustic environments to record in, such as your living room or bathroom. I'm sorry, folks, I'm not leaning off the screen. I'll adjust the angle. So set up your microphone to record in the more reflective environment, to start off with a reflective environment, and then start off with your less reflective environment. If you have all your gear mounted in some way, you can't move it around, you still have 20 feet of mic cable. You can get a lot of different places in the room. So it may be that you have one corner that's very reflective, and you might have some other place where there's a bed or clothing or something that's less reflective, or, you know, carpeted floor, things like that. Or you may be able to reach into your bathroom, which will be very reflective, and maybe back to your bedroom, which is probably less reflective. So it's just about listening and understanding your environment and how your environment will impact your recording. Of course, the louder you speak, the more you're going to hear the reflections of your environment. The further away you are from the microphone, the more the environment's going to impact the recording. Okay, you can adjust the fader levels, which is up or down. Do not apply any processing or effects. All right, this has to be 90 seconds. I'm going to do a live demonstration of it here. I'm not going to make mine 90 seconds, but don't forget, yours needs to be 90 seconds. So, you know, your part 1 needs to be about 45 seconds of talking. Your part 2 needs to be about 45 seconds of talking. And then your music bed will stretch out the whole 90 seconds. So, let's open Logic. I'll check the questions while that's loading up. Angel, what setup are you on? Only the only those with condenser mics need mic power, and that should just be a matter of pushing on the phantom power button. Samantha, absolutely. A window would be a very could create a lot of reflections, giving a reflective environment. Carlos, you can use a studio mic shield. That would be your less reflective environment because it's a shield to shield reflections. Ebony, that sounds like it should work. So, see file, new. All right, so here's our logic session. I know right away I need 3 audio tracks because that was in the requirements, and just go ahead and create 3. I also know that 1 needs to be stereo, 2 mono, and I know what to label them, so I already put in there. So this can be Vox 1, Vox 2, and music bed. All right, so I'm click on Vox 1, I selected it's gray. If I look over here in the inspector, if you don't have this inspector open, all you have to do is click the eye up top. That opens this, eye for inspector, right over it. And it'll show you the mixer for whatever track is selected and wherever the sound is going. So Vox 1, I see it's mono, it says 1 circle, good. Vox 2, mono, 1 circle. Music bed, it's 1 circle, it's also mono. I need to make it stereo, so I just click that circle. Now it's stereo. Why? Because that was the instructions, and it's so you understand how to do this. All right, I'm going to do the music last. Some of you like to have the rhythm of the music, and you can do it first if it helps you. Some people like to flow with it. Just going to turn that off. So, find what input I'm hooked to. I think I'm on 17 right now. You will probably be on input 1. I have a much more complex setup in my studio, so my mic happens to be on 17. All right, so see I got level. You want your level to be kind of touching where it goes yellow. You can change this in Logic. You can make it go yellow different places, but where it defaults is good for most situations. If you're way up near the top, I can't even get that far. I still got limiting on. Then you want to back off on the gain. So this is gain staging. You want to adjust this level by a combination of your distance from the microphone. You need to be whatever distance you want to be from the microphone. And then you want to use the gain knob on your interface. So right on the front of your interface, right next to where you plug in the mic, you have a gain knob, and you're going to turn that up and down until you're roughly in this range where it's kind of going from green to yellow. If you're way up here, back off. You want to give enough space that if you accidentally get louder than you expected, you don't clip, you still have a little room. You want to give yourself a margin of error, right? And then if you're way down here, you're just going to be too quiet to work with, and you're actually losing bits and data to your audio quality. So you want to be up in this area as much as possible. When we had to do 16-bit digital, it was very important. You needed every bit of that you could. But working in 24-bit, it's not that big of a deal. But you're going to be going back and forth. You need to learn how to do it properly. It's going to matter when you're dealing with analog gear that has actual noise floors to deal with. And it's going to matter if you're dealing with different bit rates as well. So get proper gain staging, please. It's part of the project. All right, so now let's see if my levels seem good. Let's go ahead and start recording. I'm going to review my instructions one more time. So in my more reflective environment, I'm going to talk about myself, and then I'm going to come back in my less reflective environment and talk about what I want to learn this month. Hello, I'm Tom Hughes. I like water, music, beaches, lakes, rivers. I also like really cool time-based effects and compression. I'm real exciting. All right, so yours will need to be about 45 seconds of talking about yourself and about 45 seconds of what you want to learn. Doesn't have to be precisely, but the whole thing has to be precisely 90 seconds. So don't leave a bunch of open space. I don't want to just be sitting there listening to nothing for 45 seconds. You need to fill out the space. So I'm trying to make it very clear. I'm doing a shortened version. Yours should be longer. Now I can see time and everything by going up here like beats and time. But I know that 90 seconds is going to be 45 bars roughly, or exactly at the default of 120 BPM. Because 120 BPM makes for a simple math with 60 seconds. So yours is going to need to be about half of that distance. Just to make it very clear. I'm doing an example. The only thing I'm doing wrong is the length. All right, then you got part 2. This month in recording principles. Oh, didn't set my input. Shame on me. You have the same input, same levels. So we're going to use our make-believe and believe that I've now gone into my less reflective space. Obviously, I can't move around everything because I'm using the same mic that I teach with to do this example. So we're just going to use our imagination a little bit. I'm going to be in the less reflective space. This week in recording principles, I want to learn more. I can't even do it this month. If you have to do more than one take, don't worry. It's part of life, right? You can just delete it. It's digital. You don't have to get out the razor blade and cut a bunch of tape. No problem. Click a button, it's gone. I want to wait for that. Don't worry, I'll trim all that out. Hello, I'm now in my less reflective environment. This month in recording principles, I want to learn more about equalization, compression, how to best capture sound with my microphone, and a little bit about how to mix and what makes a good mix. There you are. Then you can trim off anything extraneous if you want just by dragging around. So, Vox 1, mono track. Vox 2, mono track, about 45 seconds each. Music bed. I can just grab this from our loop library in Logic. You should have all downloaded your content by now. If not, you should get started. It's very big. It can take over a day. Whole lot of content, but you go in, sorry, the wrong browser. Right up here where it's got the little loop picture, top right. You can click on that, and it'll give you loops. And you can select kind of things that you like, don't like. I've never clicked on the cinematic, I don't think. Let's see. You all aren't hearing Logic, are you? I'm not seeing Logic playback. Huh. Stand by. So water, wow, music, beaches, lakes, rivers. Way loud. I also like really cool time-based effects and compression. All right, how's that volume compared to my voice? A little low. Real exciting. Yeah. Hello, I'm now in my less reflective environment. This month in Recording Principles, I want to learn more about equalization. I don't know how this compression, how these levels got so different. I haven't changed anything. Microphone. And all right. So now that I can hear. Oh, by the way, don't use these ones that have green. Those aren't loops. Those are instruments. The ones with the little blue audio's insignia, these are loops. Just use audio loops, please. If you drag in the other stuff, it puts a bunch of things on. Hello, I'm Tom Hughes. Don't worry, it can be weird. It can be quirky. No. There's a few things you're going to learn from doing this. First of all, it's just a basic set of work things. You're going to drag this out to be the full 45 bars, which is 90 seconds, as directed. So your project would look something like this. You know, this would be that long. This would be that long, right? But record all that. So we're doing the short version. All right. Hello, when you play back, you'll notice that it's probably very hard to hear your vocal over the music, so you're just going to turn the music down. Hello, I'm Tom. If you have, if your vocal wasn't recorded at a very good level, you might have to crank it up a little bit. Am I coming through distorted to you all? Because that recording sounds distorted. Let's see what's happening with my converters. By the way, you can zoom in on waveforms and see things like if there's any clipping or anything. Huh. There's no clipping. If you see waveforms that have the tops or bottoms squared off, you'll know that you have clipping. That's something peculiar. All right, so I have my music bed, I have my vocals. I can open up this little mixer on the bottom if I want to. My levels. Hello, I'm Tom Hughes. I like water. Turn the music down where we can really hear. We want to hear what you're saying. It's more important than the music. Lakes, rivers. So turn it down as much as you have to be clear. I also like really cool time-based effects. We're not doing any automation. We're not adding any compression. If you know different things to do, that's fine. Don't do them. So this is all we're doing. We're adding in the tracks, and you're going to touch the faders. You can move your vocals too. You can move them up or down a little bit if you need to. So you just have these 3 faders to move, and that's all we're doing as far as the mix for this. Hello, I'm Tom Hughes. That click track right there at the beginning, you can just trim that right off. All right. To the top of the clip. And hello, I'm Tom Hughes. Right? So the bouncing's easy. We select the entire length as I already have. So since we have 90 seconds and it defaults to 120 BPM, once again our length is 45 bars to get the entire 45th bar. You have to include the 45th bar. Export. I'm sorry, bounce. So bounce, which is also Command B. So just bounce project or selection, Command B. Right there. It's also under File, Bounce, Project or Section. So we open this up. We're going to select our playback type. So it's going to be MP3. You just have that checked. You don't even need the PCM checked. You're going to be 128 kilobytes per second because that's what the instructions say. You want all this can be off. Normalize off. That part's fine. Joint stereo you want. Don't have to worry about the mono. We're not doing mono. So that's what it should look like. You see my time? 1:30, 90 seconds. Perfect. Hit OK. You're going to name it. You're all going to name last name first. It's very important you name everything last name then first name, because when we download stuff, we organize them alphabetically. If you name them wrong, it throws us all off. Bounce it. Be sure you notice where you bounce it to. Mine bounced to the desktop because that's where it said it was going to. Yours may be bouncing to the Logic folder somewhere in your music files. It's going to default somewhere, but you can always change it. I'll show you that one more time. Command B. If I hit OK, it's going to ask me where my files are going. If you can't see all this, it's this little arrow right here. So if it looks like this, just click this arrow. It'll give you all the options. But I know mine's going to my desktop because it says right there. If I want it somewhere else, I just change that folder and make it somewhere else. All right. That is all you have to do, right? You want to save it. Save your session. Always save your session in case you have to come back and do something. So Command save. Once again, last name, first name, project name. It's going to be that all class. Last name, first name, project name. I'm not going to save it because I do one of these every month. I don't want to quit Logic though. Quit the session. All right. Any questions on this actually before I close out of it? Let's see. I'm usually a bit more up tempo than that, but thanks. That's curious. The recording had distortion, but I don't. It's the exact same microphone that's supposed to be in the exact same software supposed to be feeding both of them. Darian asked if you can use your own music. You can, but I don't want it to be about your music. So the biggest problem when I tell people they can is they turn up their music louder than their words because they're trying to show off their music and it doesn't work, or their music has their vocals in it. If your music has your vocals on it, don't use it because we're going to be trying to listen to your vocal and then we're going to have another voice of you saying something else at the same time. It's going to make it very hard to be intelligible. So if you have an instrumental music of yours, you can use it. If you have vocal music, please don't. Your music should not detract. Yes, Command S to save. Anthony, if you import it as an audio track, I don't want to see any music composition done in this project. No instruments, no software instruments. I just want 3 audio tracks. If I open up your project and I've got, you know, a bunch of virtual instruments and drum racks and all this junk in here, I'm not going to be pleased. Your project should look like this. Now, how you came up with a music bed, I'm not particularly worried about. Do not use somebody else's material. Do not use anybody's copyright material. Do not use anything that is vulgar, could be offensive to your classmates. So an instrumental, I've never heard an instrumental that's offensive yet, although there are some intervals that people died over many years ago, but we don't usually kill over instrumentals anymore, just words. Yes. Yes, instrumental. Correct. Yeah, keep it as simple as possible. And yes, you can just use the loops. If you don't want to deal with any of that, just use the loops. Be sure to use the ones, like I said, with a blue and a little waveform. The ones with green are not loops, they're instruments. See those? There they are. The ones with little green music notes, these are instruments. They'll put on a bunch of effects and plugins and a lot of stuff you're not supposed to be using that you're going to get counted off for. So don't click on these. They'll cause you problems. Just drag and drop. Just a little blue loops. All right. Hello. All right. So that seems to be everything on that one. Let's take a quick look at your mix 1. Actually, let's be clear. Everybody knows what to submit on this too. So your submission for this is a screenshot of the session, so I can see what got done, an upload of the audio. That's the MP3, 128 kilobytes per second, as instructed, and a paragraph about what you learned about the acoustic environments in your microphone. So as you're moving around, finding different places to work, you should observe things. You should observe, was this more reflective? Was it not? How did it change my recording? So a paragraph about what you observed in your recordings, what you learned, and then responding to 2 of your colleagues about what you heard in their recording and about what they learned. Remember to use the RISE model. That was in the first discussion. That holds all month. You will not get your 20 points credit if you do not follow the RISE model, at least, to some degree. The RISE model has 4 sentences, so basically if we look and we don't even see 4 sentences, you don't have much hope of getting credit, right? All right, so you're graded music bed, mono vocals, vocals recorded through audio interface and microphone, not the built-in mic. We will hear and see the difference. Gain staging, keeping your levels good. Naming, bouncing, screenshot, audio, discuss acoustic environment, respond to colleagues' post. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into next week, as some of you know we'll start on this early. And this is not complicated. I promise you, it's not complicated. If you feel like it's complicated, you're probably overthinking it. All right, so this is going to be an actual session that you download. Here it is right here. You download it. It's big. It's 100 megabytes. It's going to take a few minutes to download. You're going to mix it using faders and pans. So faders are this, up and down. If you're looking at the mix image, which you're supposed to look at from Safari Books, you will notice that louder, closer, quieter, further away, louder, closer, quieter, further away, higher pitch, higher up, lower pitch, lower down. So you'll all see the visual pretty soon. It's actually in this video. It looks like this. And so you can see vocals are loudest because they are the furthest in front. They sit kind of in the mid-range, but not very high. The hi-hats are in cymbals or further back. They sit very high. And then in between, you kind of got your guitars, your bass, your keyboards, other instruments. And your kick, always notice where your kick is. So where your kick and bass and vocals sit are always really important to your genre. This will change from genre to genre. It's not always the same. So you have to think about what genre you're mixing, what your target audience is, and think about and reference listen. But having these visuals will help you. So you have to go to Safari Books and examine the reggae mix visual. If you're not understanding how the visual works, please read into the book, and he explains how the visuals work. If you're absolutely refusing to read, even though it's college, click this video. It's ridiculous, it's silly, but you can learn a lot. We have multiple kick mics in this session, so I want no kick to hit louder than negative 12 dB. If you do this and you follow the mix visual, you will complete the mix without clipping. So you'll have plenty of headroom if you just follow instructions. Also, a note about the screenshots. They should be laid out. You don't have to have the background. You don't have to have two of these. I just had a big screen, had to open up. I want to see your mix window. I want to see these faders. I want to see the pan knobs. I want to be able to see where it says audio effects right here. This right here in the top right needs to be in narrow tracks view. And this here in the center needs to be in tracks, not all. And this is how your screenshots should be submitted. All right, folks, just a few seconds and we'll be able to open up that project. Alexis, no, that's not needed this time. Thanks for asking. Yep, Darren, absolutely true. I say that a lot, but I can't convince people of it somehow. All right. Come on. Why do you no open? It's trying to unzip it. If there's a problem, it'll be good for me to know now so I can fix it tomorrow morning before y'all get it. So I actually have a copy of this on my desktop, but I always like to download the one that you have specifically to make sure there's no issues. Sometimes files get corrupt over time. So this project is called Reggae Junkies Stay Fly. Soon as you open it, the first thing you should do is rename it. It's going to be last name, first name, then Reggae Junkies Stay Fly, and then in the end, it's going to be Mix 1. So we're going to be working on this all month. So it's 4 stages we're going to go through, and Mix 1 is the foundation. If you do not do it correctly, it's going to be a very hard time for you. All right, so when you get it, it's going to look sort of like this. You can set loops up here. Remember this yellow thing's your loop indicator. Basically, I cut the track down into verse and chorus. It starts off with nothing playing. That's to force you to have to do something. Believe it or not, when we had it with all the faders up and we handed it to people, people would just hand it right back to us with all the faders up. So I turned them down, so you have to actually touch the faders so you don't ever get to hear anything. All right, so these are all your tracks. The best way to kind of preview the song and know what you're working with is just kind of select them all, bring your faders up. So you can do that just to listen through the song. Listen through it. Make some mental notes if you can. If you don't have enough experience yet to make mental notes, not a problem. That's what you're here for, is to get experience and hands-on practice. So don't let that bother you. But listen through, get a feel for the song, understand what it is. Before you hit play, you might not have even known what genre it was to even know. So hit play, you figure out what it is, you know what it's all about. After you raise the faders, you can select them all again. Just hold Shift to select multiple things. You can drag them all back down. Or you can watch my video and just kind of hear. So in my instructions, I said your loudest kick should not be hit more than -12. So let's start with that real quick. I'm going to select a loop point here. I'm going to try to get right into the heart of the song here. Go back to my mixer view. So I can listen to each of my kicks. Hear how they sound. That's kick in. Let's kick out. Hear how distinctly different it is. This one's a little muddier, but it's got a little more weight to the bottom too. This one's really punchy. This is a microphone that actually goes inside the kick drum. Oftentimes, if you only have one mic, it's this one. And then this is a sub-kick mic. We'll talk about this more later in the month. It's basically a speaker used as a microphone to pick up the low frequencies of a kick drum. So it gives you that nice sort of deep, subby sound. If you want to relate this to kind of hip hop or techno or something, you would relate this to being kind of like, this mic would be kind of like your 909 kick, and this would be like your 808 you would layer in. All right. So this is my punchiest sound. I know this is what my ear is probably going to grab onto first. So this will be my primary kick this time, maybe. Sometimes I go with a kick out. And if you keep clicking these to reset, you'll see the loudest it hits. So that number should not hit more than 12. 13 is really close enough. You don't have to hit exactly at 12, but just don't go over it. So that's hitting exactly at 12 as per the instructions. And then I can just layer my other kicks, kind of see how until they sound good with it. If you think you're mixing too quiet, this is too quiet for you to mix, turn up your headphones. Don't overdrive the mixer to get louder. And don't touch the output. That's not allowed in this class. You touch this fader, you lose 10 points. Leave it at 0. And so you kind of layer in these. Your overheads, they're their own little kind of tricky thing. So what you do with your overheads, you take them, you turn them up. You take the one that says left, you turn it all the way to the left. You take the one that says right, you turn it all the way to the right. This is your entire stereo field. This now sets the boundaries of your mix. It's not realistic to how a stage looks, but it is realistic to how it sounds because the cymbals tend to reflect off the walls. All right. So, and I can solo these, or I can leave the kicks on, doesn't matter. Now, from listening to these, I now have a stereo image. You're getting mono on the video on the live feed right now, no, but I can now hear my toms, my cymbals, my hi-hats, and I know where they're at. So I can hear my hi-hat. That's that ch-ch-ch. That's the hi-hat sound, which is right here. And I know that it's going to the left. I can hear it go to the left, so I can bring it in. And I can move that until it matches. So with the drums, you get all of your stereo placement information from your overheads. And for phase reasons, you want to line them up. So the overheads are going to be 2 microphones over your entire drum kit, and they set your stereo field. And then you listen to those to hear where your hi-hats and your toms sit. We have only 2 tom fills in the mix. Here's one right here. I'll go to it. So you hear the toms. So they kind of went ba, boom, ba, boom. Something like that. That was a little more centered. I'm going to keep it out of the center just to keep more room for everything else, even though the toms don't play much. All right, so those are the things that need panned. Your bass, your kick, your snare, you're going to keep dead center. Your keys and your guitar, you're going to pan according to the mix visual. So you look at the David Gibson reggae mix visual, and you can see where the keys are, you see where the guitars are, and you just try to match the visual. Left, right. You also try to match the visual. Actually, the visual goes like this. You also try to match the visual with the level. So once you have the kick set, then that gives you some idea, and you get the snare set. Then you know it's like, are my keys, are they in front of my kick or behind my kick? They're going to be behind the kick because it's reggae. The kick, the bass, and the vocals are the loudest things. So I know my keys are going to be down, my guitars are going to be down behind them. And your vocals, your lead vocals can be in front, right? Saw that in the visual. So I'm not going to go through every element of this, but I want to go through some of the key points so you really understand. But what I'm also going to show you is down here, here's a video of me doing the fader and pan mix. Literally, I do the fader pan mix on this video. Took me 12 minutes to do it in real time. This doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to be dialing in through the month, but you have to be in the ballpark. If you're not in the ballpark, then you're not making a reggae mix, and all your other mix decisions throughout the month will be bad decisions because you have a bad foundation. You know, you heard of building the house on the sand or building the house on the rock. Let's build the house on the rock, right? So we want a good, strong foundation for our song. That's what the fader pan mix is. This is the foundation. If you get this down, the rest of it will flow really smoothly. If you don't learn to do this step and do it well and listen and critically listen to it, you're just always going to struggle with mix decisions. And I've seen people mixing for years and years that struggle with decisions because they never learn the importance of getting that fader pan mixing done, and they'll do it one track at a time, especially if they're self-producing, self-mixing people. You know, they just don't get that perspective. So take your time, do this right. Obviously, it's very important to get this right because I just showed you a bit about it now, and then I actually included the video of me doing your homework for you. So the final thought of this is, if you watch, you can do the video, you can do the mix without watching this video and try to get there. But if you do the mix and you watch this video and you don't end up in the same ballpark that I end up in, you can even pause it and look at the faders and pans. If this is not the ballpark you're in the wrong ballpark. Get in my ballpark, and that way we can move forward. You know, this is not subjective. Oh, I thought this sounded cool or this sounded cool. You got very specific parameters having a mixed visual to work with, so, and a genre to work with. So if you're going to mix this like it was rock and roll, heavy metal, folk music, or whatever, that's wrong. You know, we're not giving you artistic license. You are a client. Actually, we're your client. You are working for us. We've hired you, right? You know, I'm like, hey, I need a fader pan mix of this. I need to sound like a reggae mix because they're a reggae artist. If you come back through and you hand me a folk mix of it, and it's the best folk mix I've ever heard, but it's of my reggae track, I'm never hiring you again. Never. Right? I mean, it just makes sense, right? So a lot of people don't even think about that. They don't, you know, and I see it a lot in live sound engineer. You get like your grumpy old live sound engineer that wants to make everybody sound like his favorite band from 1987. And it doesn't matter who he's mixing. They're all going to sound like freaking Ozzy. And sometimes it's cool, even when it's the wrong thing. You know, I've been at a reggae event that was mixed by an old rock guy. It sounded cool, but it was like a rock concert. It was a little weird. But, you know, you have to, you know, think about your genre and your target audience. So, here we are. We have a genre of reggae. We assume our target audience is going to be reggae listeners. You're going to understand why reggae by the end of the month, because you'll see that it gave you a lot of flexibility this month that you wouldn't have had with other genres, and keeping appropriate to the genre, of course. Any questions? How long have I been into music? Into music is a bit vague. You know, my first memories of hearing songs I liked were kindergarten, but I didn't really learn to play or anything. Alexis, I actually didn't select all, because if you select all, you're going to get that output track. You don't want that. So what I did is I selected the first track. I held shift, hold down shift, select the last track, and then they're selected. Or I could go the other direction. I could last track, hold down shift, first track, same thing. You just don't want to get the output. The output needs to stay at 0 always. Output unity gain 0 right there. Very important. Oh, that's awesome. What part of Jamaica you go to? I was just in Kingston for Christmas. The muting is not automatic when you open the mixer. Everything is just turned down on the session because I saved it with everything turned down. Yes, this is your Mix 1 project, which is the first of mix of week 2. I'm going over it right now so that those that start on the weekend can get into it, and also to give us plenty of time to work on the RPR Immersive on Monday. The RPR Immersive is a very intense project, so it's going to take some time to go through. So we're just kind of warming you up, and this literally is a warm-up. Please don't struggle with this. It's just up, down, left, right. And make it make sense. If I come in and I just see these things all random, I'm going to know that you didn't follow the mix. You're not getting credit. And I couldn't even give you credit if I wanted to. I could be like, oh, I want to give them credit. They look like they tried hard. But if it's not following the foundation, then your mix 2 is going to be bad. Your mix 3 is going to be worse. Your mix 4 is going to be a disaster. And you have to retake the class. So just do it right. And there's no excuse to not do it right, because you don't have to guess. You can guess your first time, and then you can double check with me here, and then make sure it's right. All right. Any other questions on this? This is everything that you should need to be prepared all the way up to our next meeting on Monday. All right, so don't forget your quiz 1, due by midnight tonight. Introduce yourself, due on Sunday at noon, with the replies due in by midnight. And then your Mix 1 Fader and Pan is due on Tuesday, but we went ahead and covered it today. So everybody will have access to the archives to get ahead on it. And then on Monday, we will be looking at the RPR Immersives. All right. That's all I have for this week. It's been a great week 1. Thank you all for being here. You are dismissed.